And a lot of our customers, the only thing they can do today is throw labor at the problem, whether that's statistical sampling and like opening boxes and looking for defects or checking that things are good. We can really go a long way to automate that, make the labor a lot more efficiently, and provide visibility to things that have not been visible before.
The Industrial Sage Executive Series, sharing the stories behind game-changing executives, their organizations, and insights into today's industry challenges. Well, hello and welcome to today's Industrial Sage Executive Series interview. I'm Danny Gonzalez, and today my guest is a company called Thruwave. I have Peter Kreinow, who is the CEO, and we met at Modex in 2022, and so I'm super excited to have you join me today, Peter.
Hey, thank you. Nice to be with you guys.
Well, this is exciting. You guys have some really interesting technology, and there's been several awards that you guys have won over the last several years. So for those who aren't familiar with who you guys are, who Thruwave is, give me like a little bit of high level of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. At a high level, we're a small startup based in Seattle. We've just developed some amazing, groundbreaking millimeter wave computer vision technology that can sense through cardboard, plastic at very high speeds, making it a great solution to inspect packages that moves along a conveyor. So we construct a 3D digital image of what's inside a cardboard box or plastic tote, providing the ability to verify quantity, condition, content for our supply chain customers. So we use simple hardware technology like this, and then it's all software to analyze and support our customers.
Excellent. That's pretty cool. And so I remember when we demoed it, I think we did some video content there. It seemed like it was very interesting technology. And so we'll get into that here in a little bit more in the episode. But right now, we're going to pivot, go to one of my favorite sections, just to learn a little bit more about you, Peter. I want to learn about your background, how you got to where you are, hear your story a little bit. So take me back. How did you get into this space? Was it something did you go to school for like engineering, or what was that?
Yeah, it's a long journey and a longer story. So I grew up in South Africa. After college, I moved to the UK. Probably had a plane ticket and 100 pounds in my pocket. Probably might have been a little bit more, but it didn't feel like a lot at the time. So I had some software and computer networking training at the time, and this being the late 90s, I was able to find a really nice job at a small data company in the UK, and had the opportunity to work with just some fantastic customers, a wide variety of customers in the UK, which was really fantastic for me as a young person, young professional. I returned to South Africa after about 2 years in the UK, did an MBA, and I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity with Honeywell, who had a large contract with South Africa's largest petrochemical company. So I, jumped straight into the fire. I worked myself up sideways, up again, and into various positions in South Africa, the Middle East, China, and then into the US, working in a variety of roles, mostly in process automation, industrial process automation. Honeywell then acquired a material handling company a few years after I got to the US, and I went over shortly after to lead that business. So that's the short story of how I got into sort of this supply chain space.
Excellent. Yeah, no. So through that journey, obviously, we got the abridged version. Totally get it. I'm sure there's a lot of things that probably, a lot of, left turns, then right turns, and then circles, and then, go back up. Typically, with anyone's career, there's a lot of people that have had a major impact and it helped to kind of, shape who you are today. And I know there's way too many to go over, but, who's one person that comes to mind that really helped to, create and help you to be the Peter of today? And that could be a lesson or a scenario, or what is that for you? Who is that person? A person, I think.
Yeah, it's also a difficult question. I think maybe living and working in so many different locations, parts of the world. Every location, sort of leaves something with you, and the experiences and the exposure. You sort of later realize is a blessing that very few people get to have, and so I've been fortunate enough to work with just some fantastic professionals, individuals over many years. But if I really want to think back to what sort of made me who I am, I would have to go back to my dad, right? In two ways, one probably good, one probably bad, right? The good part is that he just showed me the work, the integrity, ethics, hard work, and I got that from him. But I grew up in a small town, never really moved, and I think that also wanted me to go do, be a little bit more adventurous and go to do a few things that maybe I didn't think at the time was possible or that I had the capability to do, and sort of that part I think also shaped me. So, and then I also got to say, from moving a family so many times, my wife has just been tremendous. I think I was enabled by her sacrifice to put her career on hold so many times. So very difficult to pinpoint exact influences. So those would be two. And then I also think would like to think that I've taken some of the good things from everybody that I've worked with in the past, and then maybe also avoided some of the bad things that I've seen in people that I maybe didn't like that much. So a combination of things, but my dad and my wife would be two ones that have really influenced my career.
Certainly, yeah, no, that's great. So let's jump a little bit now to sort of your transition. So you spent a lot of time with Honeywell.
Yeah.
And there was a lot there. You moved to a lot of different countries, had a lot of different exposure, across the industry. Let's talk about ThruWave and sort of how that started, how you got involved, and kind of what did that journey look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, obviously, I was very blessed to work with a really great American multinational company that afforded me a lot of opportunities. I really loved getting into moving from oil and gas, petrochemical into supply chain. Really loved that transition, and I just see so many opportunities and for technological advancement, automation, improvement. Things that maybe oil and gas learned many years ago that can transition into the supply chain space. So I really just loved working in material handling and supply chain. And after a couple of years running Intelligrated, I came across ThruWave, and I was blown away by the technology and just what this team of scientists were able to develop. And I've never really worked in a startup environment, and I thought the combination of those two things, doing something that I haven't done before, getting into like just some awesome technology was just a great opportunity for me to go do something that I haven't done before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a night and day difference, going into, very, established corporate to startup. It's very entrepreneurial. Did you have that in your background at all? I mean, was that something that is that spirit embodied in your family, or is that a new venture for you?
I'm not sure. I guess working within a large multinational, I think afforded me a lot of support. But I think to some extent also the places that I worked were so far removed from sort of headquarters that you sort of got to do what you need to do to be successful. So roles aren't always as defined and as clear. So, working in the middle of nowhere, you got to do the project management, the sales, the service, the support. So you got to have a little bit of self-starting nature and some entrepreneurial capability, I think, to be really successful. And I think I learned that even though I worked in a fairly large company.
Excellent. No, very cool. All right. So, you know, talk to me a little bit about that moment when you decided that, hey, I'm going to make this transition and I'm going to jump on with a startup. I imagine, typically that's a very challenging and difficult decision to make. There's a lot of unknowns, and it's exhilarating, but it can also, I imagine, be a little terrifying, on both sides of the spectrum. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I maybe I look at it a little bit differently. I think, through my past career moves, I've always got excitement and energy from trying things that I wanted to develop in myself personally, or try to take on challenges that I haven't done before. So one of my first big moves were, I was moving from South Africa to the Middle East. New culture, new location, new teams, different macro environment. So, and that was really exciting, although for me that was a sideways move at the time. So, stepping out and going into a company like ThruWave, I think the excitement and the challenge and the opportunity sort of overshadows the risk or the doubt. And so I think from my point of view, that's how I've always looked at things. And if you're going to look at everything that's going to go wrong, or if you worried the challenge is going to be too big, then probably it's not a good move, and probably you're not going to be successful. So I tend to get energized by that, and so I don't think much about what can go wrong.
That's great. I love it. So the always positive optimist. That's a true, really. It embodies a true visionary, right? And going so. So great. So ThruWave, you had this opportunity. How did ThruWave come to be in existence? Like where did that technology come from, and what's sort of the origin story?
Yeah, we've got the founders of our company all came out of University of Washington, where they've worked under Matt Reynolds, and developed the basics of the technology, and then it spun off from there to really focus on the commercial application in the supply chain space. So out of UW, and it's been a fairly long journey to really develop the technology solution that's viable for supply chain customers.
So maybe this the technology that you have, what exactly does it do?
Okay, yeah. So we use millimeter waves. It's in the invisible spectrum. It's totally human safe. So think about it as a camera, and again, I'll show the little module here. So we have RF antennas mounted within this module. As an object, a case, a toad passes past these the sensing module, or we'll have an array of modules. The movement and the waves reflecting off what's coming past us gets received at the bottom. And then we would use those millimeter waves and reconstruct a digital image, a 3D digital image of those reflected waves that comes back. So really simplified, but that's in short how it works. And then once we have this reconstructed digital image, we can apply an analytic, a software algorithm, a classifier, and actually interpret the image and then do something with it.
Sure.
So think about it as we're taking a camera. This is a camera. We're taking an image and then apply some computer vision algorithms to those images.
Absolutely. So all right, when we met, well, we didn't met, but I met your partner there, Matt. He was basically explaining to me and kind of dumbing it down for me, was that essentially it's really, I mean, that's the same, if I understand correctly, it's the same technology in sort of body scanners at the airport where we might be familiar with. So what it sounds like is there's a lot of use case and applications to be able to, when we think of computer visioning right now, right, it's just more on the surface level, on the exterior. But you have the ability to be able to actually give insights into what's going on inside that tote or that package or that parcel. So, from a quality standpoint or quality or quantity, making sure that what is actually in there is what's supposed to be in there.
Right.
I'm assuming that's one of the many applications. What are some of the top applications for this?
Yeah, so just to confirm, you're absolutely correct. The scanning technology that they use at the airport, it's also millimeter waves. We've been able to put it in a form factor and with the right reconstruction and software algorithms have been made it so that it can actually be viable within supply chain, working at very high speeds. In the airport instance, you've got to stand really still, and speed and performance is a real issue. So the team just did a fantastic job to be able to do that. So then you're also correct. So we see, think about a camera taking a picture. It's really good with what it can see, but occlusion is a problem. Visible light spectrum is a problem. So it can't see beyond certain things, which makes our technology really good. So we can see through, cardboard, plastics, light plastics, air packs, and the like. So we can then see what's inside, which makes it a really good application to count, to detect damage, detect leaks, heavy plastics, liquids, and metals really reflect well. And we see those images really well, and we can then do something with it. And so think about, high-value electronics, liquids, bottling applications, security applications, counting applications for various industries. So we're fortunate that we can play throughout the supply chain, whether it's, inbound on the manufacturing side, within the manufacturing operation, outbound from the manufacturing, inbound to retail, distribution, fulfillment, outbound to, whether it's retail again or the end consumer, and then everything back through the reverse logistics chain, making sure the right things show up at your door, there's no fraud, things are in the right condition, and the right counts are there. So there's a whole host of applications that will just grow and grow in the future as we develop new capabilities on the software side.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I could just, as you were kind of talking about all those different areas, lots and lots of applications. And so is there a particular focus that you have right now as far as where you're, from a go-to-market, that you're really honing in on?
Yeah, we want to keep it simple. So we focused on a couple of use cases, couple of applications. So really focused on homogeneous product set at the moment. So think about bottling, canning, operations, whether it's consumer product goods or on the bottling, beverage, brewery type of application. So we can count bottles, we can detect broken bottles, broken cans, things of metallic of nature that's missing that should be there, or metallic objects that's in the packaging that shouldn't be there. So that's got a nice broad application, but from a software and a commercialization point of view, the value proposition is largely the same. And then the other thing we focused on is really determining, whether the right quantity of things are in a box or a tote. So whether that's in a ASRS system or in a packaging operation or picking operation, so those are the main things we focused on at the moment.
Excellent. Well, makes a lot of sense. Certainly, we're talking about, you were mentioning a little bit about reverse logistics. That seems to be a big story right now, especially as a lot of retailers, it's coming out. There's a influx of inventory because demand forecasting. The last several years have been crazy. Who the heck knows what's coming down the track? So now everyone's sitting on a ton of inventory, depending on where they are, right?
the on the reverse side, it's, I mean, a lot of businesses have done a really nice job on the outbound side, but this growth in e-com and in the reverse side is just so difficult to keep up with. And if we can deploy our technology and at least just tell our customers, hey, what's supposed to be in there is in there, it goes a long way for them to feel a little bit more confident that they can process a refund, right? Versus somebody trying to defraud them. And fraudulent returns in the US is about $25 billion a year. So it's a sizable problem.
Absolutely. And it's just, just like on the outbound side, it's all about speed, right? So speed and quality. So getting products and things to consumers, or could be other businesses. But then the same thing on the back end that you mentioned, from a refund standpoint, get that going quickly. And so how long, I don't think I've asked this, how long has ThruWave, have you guys existed?
Yeah, we've really come out of the shadows here, I would say, in the last 18 months to 2 years. Prior to that, was really like under the radar, in stealth mode, developing the core of the technology. So we've gone through, over the last 18 months or so, we've gone through a lot of our POC testing, pilot programs, and commercial rollout now. So we're really scaling up fast at the moment.
Excellent. You answered one of my next questions. Another question that I have on this is just as from funding standpoint, have you gone through a Series A, or where are you in that process?
Yeah, it's a good timely question. We will be raising a Series A in the next in the coming months.
Excellent.
Before year end.
Very good. Very cool. Well, listen, this has been I've enjoyed this conversation. I like I said, when we met at, we didn't meet, but we saw ThruWave. I thought it was fascinating technology. I thought it was also really interesting that hasn't really, to my knowledge, that from a visioning standpoint, that really hasn't, there's not a whole lot of other technologies out there like that at the moment. And it sounds like it just makes a lot of sense as far as, all the different applications, specifically, when we're talking about a lot of e-com and logistics there, and the supply chain space. So I'll give you the last word if you'd like to leave anything with our audience before we wrap.
Yeah, no, great. We're really excited about the technology and the solution that we can provide our customers. We think we've got a really disruptive vision of the future. And a lot of our customers, the only thing they can do today is throw labor at the problem, whether that's statistical sampling and like opening boxes and looking for defects or checking that things are good. We can really go a long way to automate that, make the labor a lot more efficiently, and provide visibility to things that have not been visible before. So we're excited to work with the customers out there, and really excited to get our technology and our solution out there to drive real value in what is a very challenging environment within supply chains. And restructuring of supply chains are going to happen, and transparency and visibility of data is probably going to be one of the most important things for customers to build a real competitive advantage within the supply chain. So we're excited to be part of that.
Excellent. No, well, you have exciting technology. I think there's a lot that we're going to be hearing about you guys a lot more over the next several years for sure. Peter, thank you so much for spending some time with me today on the Executive Series.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that wraps up today's episode with ThruWave. I had Peter Kreinow, who's CEO of ThruWave, which you can go check them out at thruwave.com, and that's THRU Wave. There's a link, and we'll have information. You can go check that out. So thanks so much for watching and or listening, maybe if you're listening on the podcast. Hey, if you're not subscribed, I want to encourage you to go and go to industrialstage.com, and you can subscribe so you can get some of these great insights and hear about all the innovations and the technology that's happening in the manufacturing and the industrial supply chain space, because it's rapidly evolving, and there's some amazing things that are happening. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another episode on Industrial Sage.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Get notified every time there's a new episode by signing up for our email newsletters. You can also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a review so more industrial professionals can find us. Want us to tell your story? Go to industrialsage.com. This week's episode was produced by Rika Wiersma, filmed and edited by Optimum Productions, and our executive producer is Danny Gonzalez. Thank you for watching Industrial Sage.